fact that they just unified. I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way a very beautiful thing to see. A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity.
An armed man, multiple weapons, a security checkpoint breached, an officer shot at close range. That's what just happened. And within 60 seconds of describing all of that, 60 seconds, Donald Trump had already moved on. Not to the officer's family, not to a plan to prevent this from happening again, not to the people in that room who just watched someone try to kill their way through a Secret Service line. No. He moved on to real estate. But we'll get there. Because first, let's be clear about what we just watched. This was not a minor incident. This was not some protester who got too close. This was a man who showed up to a freedom of speech event. A freedom of speech event armed with multiple weapons, and he charged a security checkpoint. Secret Service took him down. One of their agents was shot from close range with what Trump himself called a very powerful gun. That officer is alive because of his vest. Not because anyone saw this coming. Not because the venue was secure. The vest did the job. That's the only reason we're not having a very different conversation right now. And here's what Trump said about the venue where this happened. It's not a particularly secure building. He said that out loud, on camera, about an event that his own team organized at a location his own team chose. Think about that for a second. The President of the United States just admitted, casually, almost as an afterthought, that he allowed a public event with himself present to take place in a building that isn't particularly secure. And the way he said it, like he was mildly annoyed about a drafty window, that's what should stop you cold. Because this is where it gets interesting. This is where the whole thing shifts.
Well, thank you very much. That was very unexpected, but incredibly acted upon by Secret Service and law enforcement. And this was an event dedicated to freedom of speech that was supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press. And in a certain way it did, because the fact that they just unified. I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way a very beautiful thing to see. A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity. I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now. Put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf. Really did a great job. One officer was shot, but saved by the fact that he was wearing obviously a very good bulletproof vest. He was shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun, and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's in great shape. He has very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him. And he's a very proud guy. He's very proud of what he does, Secret Service agent. And we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, it's not a particularly secure building. And I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today...
There it is. That's the turn. That's the moment the whole thing collapsed into something else entirely. An officer is in the hospital. A man with multiple weapons just tried to breach a presidential event. The country is watching. The world is watching. And Donald Trump, in the same breath, in the same statement, while describing a live security incident, pivots to selling you on the White House ballroom. We need the ballroom. Not we need better vetting. Not we need a federal review of how this event was organized. Not even a full sentence about the officer who took a bullet tonight. The ballroom. And notice how he framed it. He didn't say he wanted the ballroom. He said Secret Service wants it. The military wants it. They've wanted it for 150 years. Like there's been some century-and-a-half-long campaign inside the U.S. military for access to a ballroom that Donald Trump happens to be the only person willing to give them. Let's be honest about what's actually happening here. This is a man who has been under enormous public pressure over his proposal to use the White House as a private event space, to essentially turn one of the most symbolic buildings in American democracy into a personal venue. Critics have called it a conflict of interest. Ethics watchdogs have raised alarms. The optics have been terrible. And tonight, with an armed gunman still warm on the floor and an officer still in a hospital bed, Trump found his answer. He found his reframe. This is why we need the ballroom. It's a security issue now. It's not about him. It's about the drones. It's about the bulletproof glass. It's about keeping the president safe. If you oppose it, apparently you want the president to get shot. This is a masterclass in political misdirection, and it would almost be impressive if a man hadn't just taken a bullet tonight to make it possible. Because here's the part Trump didn't address. If the security at tonight's venue was so obviously inadequate, if it was not a particularly secure building, then why was the event held there in the first place? Who approved that location? Who did the advanced security sweep? Who made the call? Those questions don't get asked when the story becomes about the ballroom. And that framing isn't accidental. Nothing Trump does in front of a camera is accidental. He's been doing this for decades. You give him a crisis, and he'll give you a pivot. You hand him a tragedy, and he'll hand you a proposal. Tonight was no different. The officer who was shot, Trump said he called him. Said the man was in great spirits, very proud, high spirits. One line. Then back to the ballroom. Here's what we know. A man armed with multiple weapons breached security at a Trump event. A Secret Service agent was shot and survived. Trump described the venue as not particularly secure. A venue his own team chose. And then, in what might be the most revealing 60 seconds of this entire presidency, Trump used all of that to make the case for his White House ballroom plan. This is not leadership. This is not a security briefing. This is a sales pitch delivered over the body of a crisis that didn't have to happen in the first place. The officer is okay. The shooter is down. The event is over. But what Trump revealed tonight about his instincts, about his priorities, about what he reaches for when the cameras are on and something serious has just happened, that doesn't go away. Watch it again. Watch the pivot. Watch how fast the story goes from a man was shot to we need the ballroom. That's the story. That's always been the story. If you caught that pivot, if you saw exactly what just happened, hit subscribe because this channel does not look away. Drop a comment below. Do you think this was deliberate? And share this video because people need to see this one in full.